You're now listening to Hispanics Causing Panic, baby. Let's do this.
But right now, Hispanics are causing black. But right now, Hispanics are causing black. Yeah, Hispanics are causing panic.
Welcome to Hispanics Causing Panic with your hosts, Calix and D-Style Boxing.
Thanks to those joining us live. Those who join us on the archive. D-Style. You've been joined by one and the only Cali X with his Saudi cap. All right. Yet another episode of Hispanics Causing Panic. How's it going, Cali?
Check. 1 2 1 2. Check 1 2. We good. We
100% good. Yeah. All right. So look, I don't know you heard, but apparently Boots. I mean,
the boots is loose.
He put the boots to Stanionis, that's for sure. He went out there and he dominated Stanionis. This is a complete domination, destroyed him. And it was apparent early on. It continued throughout the fight. Stanionis was never in the fight, was never in a position to win the fight. He just dominated him. There's no other way to put it. And the reason I'm wording it that way, because there's people out here, I don't know if you heard, Calix.
Did Boots get hit by a punch?
He got hit by some
punches.
Oh my God, I'm so concerned. He got hit. He needs to be careful. What if he loses a fight in the future?
He got hit by punches. Oh my God.
He got hit. Why is he getting hit? I'm very concerned. We have boxing fans acting like moms. You're acting like you're the dude's mom or something. I could see if his mom said, "Oh, my baby got hit."
Oh my God! Boots got hit by some punches.
Meanwhile, nobody's concerned about Stanionis just getting destroyed, right? Stanionis, he just got annihilated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stanionis, I mean, is probably pissing blood today, right? He took a flat out beating, and nobody's saying, "Oh man, I'm really concerned about Stanionis and the beatdown he got." No, it's Boots. I read a comment. It literally read, "I'm really concerned because he gets hit and he may pay the price for that in the future." Like,
oh no.
Dude, any other era, fans wouldn't act. They would just say, "Man, he beat the shit out of him and dominated him." In the story, it wouldn't be, "Oh man, but he won." But don't get me wrong, he won, but he got hit. He gets hit too much. Does he really get hit too much? Is that really the right language we should be using for a guy that just dominated?
You know who else they said that about? They said it about Virgil. And what's the thing about Virgil? The thing about Virgil that we talked about, right, is some of these guys are actually underrated defenders because Virgil and Boots lure you into their game. And this is the confusing part about boxing fans, right? Is they claim to want action. They claim to want stuff that I guess they don't want, because when these guys get hit by punches, is why is he doing that? Why? Right?
What are we
Why is he
doing, right?
doing that? We don't do that here. We don't do that. We don't do that here. We
I
don't
mean,
do
it's
that here.
literally the
That's
only
not a
thing.
style. Getting hit by punches. We don't do that. It's hitting. Don't get hit. D style. It's not hit and then every once in a while get hit and then hit a lot more. It's hit and you don't get hit.
But like,
It's D style. It's clinch. It's tactically clinch. Why is he not tactically clinching? I don't like this. Why is he not tactically clinching? I don't get that. Why is he keeping his hands free and actually abiding by the Marcus of Queensberry rules and behaving like a fighter? I don't understand this. Why is this happening? Oh, why is he doing this? This looks like a guy that's going to get exposed. Oh my God.
a lot of boxing fans out there, I'm sorry, you guys got to be brainwashed. You've been brainwashed to believe that the only way you can show skill is you fight very negative and avoid engagement and just clinch nonstop and bore everybody to death. You've been brainwashed to believe that that's skill, right? Everything is skill. Come forward fighters, there's a skill to that. Knocking people out, there's a skill that comes with that, right? If knocking people out if it was so easy, all these skilled fighters that never knock anybody out would be knocking them out, right? That there is a skill to going into the eye of the storm and coming out unscathed, right? Even if you take a couple of punches, because you're going to get hit. It's going to happen. They all got fucking hit. Floyd got hit. I don't know. You know what it is?
Floyd never got hit. Floyd never got hit.
No, you know what? I'm convinced a lot of dudes they did not grow up watching boxing. They didn't grow up watching fights. You know what they did? They watched a bunch of highlight videos where like Floyd is making dudes miss and hitting them, and they're completely ignoring the like there's the highlight videos, right? They don't show when Floyd did get hit. They don't show that, right? Shout out to Mr. T with $2 super chat. But the taxes, Calix. What about the taxes? Hashtag.
So Norman Jr. I don't know if he's gonna fight that fight because there may be taxes involved. Let me tell you something.
Boots gonna tax that ass. I know that.
Isn't it exciting? And you and I, let's just let that aside for a minute. You and I would get excited that we got a couple exciting American fighters all of a sudden. Yeah. Virgil, Boots. These are exciting American fighters. These are guys who we enjoy watching fight. And they're actually underrated as far as skill, right? And everybody just assumes that if you don't get hit, you got skill. And it's not necessarily the case. The skill is to obviously be successful, to win fights, and to enforce your will on your opponent. And the easiest way to do that is to force them into your strategy.
Right.
And it's obvious to me that Virgil's strategy is to speed up the fight, keep hands free, force engagement, force output, force exchanges in which both guys, instead of throwing 1 or 2 punches and clinching, are throwing 5, 6, 7 punch combinations. And then Virgil will get the best. As the fight goes on, he's going to consistently get the better of those exchanges. Boots is the same way. And when I watch Virgil fight, and you and I have talked about this, we talked about this like 3 years ago. Virgil is underrated skill-wise because pay attention to when he's getting hit. He's not getting hit and he's not getting hit as he comes in. Pause. He's getting hit when he's in there.
Whoa.
Pause again. Good Lord. And then, but he's forcing the exchange, is what I'm saying. That's what the exchange is happening, and he'll get hit. He'll get hit once or twice, but he's hitting you 3 or 4 times. He's getting better at these exchanges. I don't know how to say this without sounding like a ditty, right? But he's not getting hit coming in. Come on, like Chad, leave it alone. He's not getting hit coming in. He's getting hit as he's in. Good Lord. But he's forcing these exchanges, right? The same thing with Boots. I feel like when Boots gets hit, D-style, I feel like he's almost inviting you to hit him. And Bud Crawford has the same exact style
Mm.
in him. He's catching these shots, and sometimes they're hitting him, but he's rolling with them, and then he's immediately catching you back. Immediately. And then he's catching you back with he's throwing 2-3 punch combinations off of that one shot. And I'm with you. Like, I think if Juan Manuel Marquez was fighting today, a lot of these guys would be saying, Juan Manuel Marquez, he's not a great tactician. He's not a great skill fighter because he's getting hit, and you can't do that. Are you not paying attention to the skill level that it takes for Juan Manuel Marquez to keep his hands free constantly, and then catch a shot and then throw a 3, 4, 5 punch combination?
You know what's going on though? Like I'll tell you, like I see this term used a lot in basketball, but I think it applies to every sport, and that's tempo, right?
Tempo. Yep.
Bringing up the tempo. So action fighters, or just fighters that. And what I mean by, I don't mean necessarily like brawlers, or I don't want anybody to confuse me here. But when I say fighters that use a lot more volume than, let's say, guys that fight very negative, right? So guys that just throw 20 punches around, okay? They do a lot of stalling of the action. They slow down the action. They do a lot of holding, so it causes the clock to run out. And they basically play a game of tag, and they outpoint their opponent in a course of 3 minutes, and that's how they get a 10-9, right? So people look at that and say, oh, yeah, look at him. His defense is great, right? Now, what we got to look at is when someone picks up the tempo in a fight and they're throwing a multitude of punches and the action is greater in the process, of course, it's going to result in them maybe getting hit more because they're throwing more, and more is happening in the course of those 3 minutes. There's not stalling going on. No one is cutting. There's no like low in the action or a lot of, and when I say negatives, people that are completely avoiding and neglecting any form of engagement.
It's a higher degree of difficulty these guys are fighting with.
100%.
And when you go back and watch Marquez fight, it's a higher degree of difficulty he's fighting with. It is. He's 100%. Fighting lower weight class guys where the output is higher, and he's keeping his hands free, and he's inviting the action in and trying to make you. He's not trying to
I think there's a confusion.
But here's the thing: he's not just trying to make you miss. He's trying to make you miss by a little. And he's even willing to take some shots in order to give you some back. But
what he's doing in turn, he's landing more damage, which results in knocking the opponents out. Stanionis looked defeated.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't need judges to tell him, hey, you lost the fight. Right? He didn't look frustrated. He looked beat up. He just got mugged.
What was the betting favorite? The betting favorite was Boots to win by decision, and that was the popular pick, is Boots to win by decision. That was the easy pick, right? Because people considered Stanionis durable. Nobody's seen Stanionis.
I just want to say this: like, it's not that he's letting. Like, I'm seeing this comment. He's not letting himself. No one lets themselves just get hit, right? But they put themselves in a more difficult. Like, they're in the line of fire, and they accept that they're going to get hit, right? They're still trying to block shots and get in there, right? Like, don't get me wrong, right? But it's not like Rocky Balboa, that ain't so bad, hit me again, that ain't so bad. It's not really what he's doing, right? But you're going to get hit. But I have news for everybody out there. Even the negative dudes get hit.
Mm-hmm.
Even they get hit. It's just that they get hit maybe a couple fewer times, but that's because they're being negative throughout the fight. Look, what I don't understand, Cal, how can anybody possibly watch what he did to Stanionis? Right? One of the top welterweights in the world. How can anybody watch that and come out saying, man, because Boots gets hits too much? This is the mind of the boxing fan. I swear to God, bro, this is Floyd Mayweather's fault. This is that fan, like this. What are we doing?
It's the one. That's the thing that Stanionis does the best is hit people, right? But this is the thing. I got a few points, and this is the misery. And they call me negative, and I'm not negative. I'm very. I watched this last night, in
Who gives a
pure.
fuck what they say?
But I
Go
watched
ahead.
this last night in pure joy, just pure joy, and I left so positive watching this because this is what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a guy fighting for the third time in 9 months. It's supposed to be a guy fighting. Look, how dare they? Like they fight a fight where it actually belongs. Like that you have two fights in Philly. The guy hadn't fought in Pennsylvania for like 6 years, for the love of God. Finally, they bring him to Philly for 2 fights, and then they bring him to AC, right? And it's one of the best venues in boxing. Everybody who's been there says that. So you're fighting 3 times in 9 months. You're fighting in front of a lot of people, and it's a fun crowd. It comes through the screen, and on top of that, it's fun. And he's fighting in an exciting style. Why in America are we shunning that? Why? I don't understand. Boots is an offensive machine, and there's a method to his madness. And I think this is scalable. I think it will work for him as he goes up, right? But it's frustrating to me when I'm in pure joy, right? And then I wake up early in the morning and I'm scrolling through boxing Twitter, and maybe boxing Twitter just isn't real life, and we're reading too much into this. But what I'm reading is he gets hit too much. Oh, you know what? If Norman Jr. caught him with those shots, well, guess what? Norman Jr. turned down 1 point whatever million to fight him.
Norman
How about
Jr.
that?
gets hit. He gets
Norman
hit.
Jr. gets hit, but what if this guy catches him with those shots? What if that's your first reaction to this? Your first reaction to this should be, oh my God, what a fun fighter. What an exciting fighter. What an action fighter. What an offensive machine. And this pure looks scalable. And by the way, this wasn't us. It's the PBC crowd. Just I don't want to go here, but we got to go here, right? Like y'all have been building up PBC fighters in this bubble for years. And Stanionis was one of these fighters. And it's like, okay, I'll go with you. You think Stanionis is this high-ranked welterweight, even though he's fought once in 3 years and all this stuff, right? I was excited with Stanionis when he fought Butayev 3 years ago, but it's one fight in 3 years, and you guys are still high on him because he's a PBC fighter, and you guys like to get on your knee pads and suck off the PBC fighters. That's fine, right? This is you guys saying it. And then now all of a sudden, Stanionis is a Euro bum, and Boots gets hit too much. Can you dudes like be consistent? Can you keep the same energy?
I just don't understand.
This up. Before the fight, Stanionis was dangerous. Now he's a bum. Now Boots gets hit too much, and if Norman Jr. catches him with those shots.
Yeah, look, I remember people telling her that Stanionis could be Virgil, that he was very dangerous. So people need to get the same energy. But yeah, like professional boxers are going to land something on other professional boxers, guys. It's just it's not because the other guys like. I'm not saying there's no defense in boxing. Of course there is. Okay. But it's not like another sport. It's not like you're not playing defense when one side has the ball. And like this, I just don't look at the guy fight Calix and say, man, he's like Margarito out there. He just has he just doesn't like. I just don't look at that. I don't see a guy that has a defensive problem. I don't
understand that. They're acting like people are acting like Boots is a flawed defensive fighter. And
they used to say the same shit about Crawford. Oh, he gets hit too much. Just wait till once he gets hit by Spence. Oh boy, once Spence gets he's the best body puncher in the game, and then he didn't let any body shots. Right?
They were saying, what if Spence catches him with those same shots Mean Machine did? Guess what?
You know what he did? He took a guy that wants to be on the front foot and he backed up the fucking bull. Okay, he fucked up Stanionis, and Stanionis his own fucking game.
Yeah, he did.
That's what he did, and he looked spectacular doing it. But he gets hit. But he got hit. What about the other guy? You want to know? I don't know, man. I'll just take a wild guess. I don't think Boots will spend the night at the hospital.
Why do you think a lot of these guys dislike Boots? Because I'm not understanding that. I don't
know everything. Look, not all of it is people that dislike him. A lot of it, Calix, is just boxing fans are just jaded and can never be like just happy about shit. It's like everything needs to be critiqued, all of it. Like you got hit for 3 times in a row at round 7. That's it. This guy has problems defensively. Like, you know what I mean? It's that. And then of course, yes, there's guys that just because he's with Matchroom, they're not gonna like him, right? It's just what it is.
The to me last night, it looked like he wasn't weight drained, right? Like that. That was the question coming in too. Is when you saw him middle of the week, it's like, man, he looks dry from middle of the week. He looks dry. How long can he stay at 147? I saw a guy last night who looked pretty comfortable at the weight, right? I don't know if that's what you saw. I saw a guy who looks comfortable at the weight. So I think I saw Steve Kim say this earlier on Twitter. I think he's the only welterweight that matters right now. He's the only welterweight that's fighting in front of.
Well, you're not a person Mario Barrios?
No, I think those guys are all interchangeable. I think those guys are all forgettable champions. Norman Jr. too.
Mario Barrios,
none of them are doing anything meaningful. None of them are great champions. They're just guys with belts. So I think Boots right now, he's the top of a weak division. Quite honestly, it doesn't mean he's not a great fighter. That's not what I'm saying. He's dominating the competition in front of him. He's staying busy. This is why I'm now on the Boots train. You know how it was last year, the year before. It's like, man, this guy looks super talented, but please, can they do something with this? Please, can they, for the love of God, can they fight this guy within the borders of Pennsylvania?
Here's what's going on.
Fighting? And now they got it going, right? And now we got to keep that momentum going. We'll see if he. We'll see if he renegotiates with Matchroom and stays there, goes elsewhere. Sure. I don't really care as long as the fights continue to.
I do care. Look, I do care. I mean, I don't want him to go sign with PBC and then we don't see him for another year and a half. So it does matter. I mean, he's right now. Being with Matchroom is where I want him to be, not because look at him, he's pro Matchroom, but because I actually saw him 3 times in a rolling year. Right? I actually saw him headline, and I saw him in a sold-out venue in Philly, and now in Atlantic City. Yeah, that you know what? Yes, he's better off with Matchroom than he was with PBC.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, but he was never PBC. He was with Showtime. He just happened to always be on PBC cards. But like whatever the fuck you want to say. Right? Okay, so he was the bastard son of Showtime. He was over there treated like a bastard son on undercards, and now he's headlining and he's active. Yes, I'm just gonna say it. I prefer him with Matchroom than with anybody else right now.
Yeah,
it does matter.
Or the Saudis, because they'll make fights, and that's what I was gonna get to is even if you can comfortably make 147, I'm just at the point. Let's get to it. Let's get to the action. And to me, the action isn't at 147, unless Teofimo is there and, those guys that were at 135 and moving up to 140 and moving up to 147. He's trying to wait around for that, right? And have a natural advantage against those guys moving up, and he can still make the weight and do some super fights, Ryan Garcia, etc. Right. But I think the big game hunting is at 154 currently, as far as the threats, right? So if 147 and nothing's shaking and he becomes sort of a boogeyman there from guys moving up and guys like Norman Jr., who when dangerous fights are presented, they all of a sudden don't want to pay taxes or whatever they have to say to get out of those fights. I think I would like to see him, if he can work with the Saudis and make these fights at 154. And
paying taxes.
I want to see this guy continue. This is an exciting story right now in the sport. This is a likable guy who's marketable, who is a Philly. This is a Philly fighter. He's a Philly fighter. This is a guy who has skill. He's very capable of fighting this American type style that all the American fans want these fighters to fight all of a sudden, where they hit once and clinch, right? Run, hit one, clinch.
They want to defend. They want to defend
that. But he doesn't want to. He's cut from the same cloth as Bud. Let's get to it. We're in the club. You stepped on my G Nikes. Let's fight. Let's fight. Round 1. Let's go. That's what I like about Bud. Boots is we're gonna fight. Let's fight. This is a Philly style. I want to read over this. I'm gonna invite you in. I'm gonna try to make you miss by this much. I'm willing to take 1 or 2 to land 3 or 4 bigger ones, and that's what we're gonna do here. And I want to see him go
And it could depend. Look, it could depend on the style. He may fight a different strategy against a Norman Jr. He may do some. He's just that type of fighter. It's this is what's astonishing to me is I look at how he fought Stanionis, and that was the most effective way to beat a Stanionis, right? That's just the way. That was the best way to do it. It's not that, but what I want to make clear, Calix, is that there's this default position that a lot of people have, that fighting the negative, boring style is the best way to fight, and the fight that's going to get you the most wins, because that's the skillful way to fight. And I think boxing fans have been brainwashed to believe that nonsense.
Yep.
I just don't think that's true.
What do you always say? Is how many punches? I'll ask you. I'll ask the chat. How many punches did Stanionis land on Boots in round 7 through 12? How many?
Nothing.
0. So you always said is the best defensive fighter is the one who no longer has to defend himself, because the fight's already over.
So
the fight's already over. Like you might go 12 rounds.
But I'm expected to believe, right, that if he fought negative, if he dropped getting hit 30% of the time to 20% of the time, right?
Over 12 rounds.
But for 12 rounds.
Right.
Right? But not only that. Okay, so Stanionis looks frustrated because he lost a fight, but he doesn't look beaten, and you didn't really destroy him like you destroyed him, right? I just, the default position that the negative way is the best way is something I just think boxing fans need to unwire themselves of.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. I'm tired, bro. Like the term boxing has been hijacked by the negative style.
Yeah.
It just has. Like, oh, it's called boxing, not fighting. Yeah, they're boxing. That's not running, it's boxing. Like, no, the whole thing, the sport is called boxing. Whether you box on the inside, the outside, mid-range, if you're an ambush fighter, whatever it's all boxing. Right? But for whatever reason, that's the way it is. I want to read this, because I think I wrote it very well. It was on X and or Twitter. We need to get away from the embracement of the negative styles built to play it safe and outpoint opponents. We've rewarded those negative styles of fighting by saying shit like that's not running, it's boxing, and it's called boxing, not fighting. Governments and laws force boxing to limit its rounds, which in turn force the institution of judging after a fight to say who won. But the origin is about knocking out your opponent. It's about being the last man standing. It's about destroying the man in front of you. It was never created with the intention of becoming fencing with gloves. Holding and stalling is a very clear violation of its original intention. The tricks of the negative style goes beyond the ring. Its tricks pass on to the spectators of the sport as well, and I see it regurgitated all the time. So when somebody dominates Calix, like the way Boots dominated, we have people that literally are like, oh my God, he got hit too much. He needs to fix that. He needs to fix it. He just rearranged freaking Stanionis' like guts all over his body, but you want him to fix how he's fighting.
Yeah. I don't think he needs to fix anything. Tactically, no, and then until somebody forces him to. And like you said, maybe he just hasn't felt threatened yet. Maybe if he's in there with a big puncher, maybe he'll be a little safer, like they want him to, a little more cautious. A little more cautious. Can he just be?
We saw like Triple G would literally get hit, and that was one of the main criticisms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember before the Lemieux fight, if he allows Lemieux to hit him like that, what are you doing against Lemieux? He started boxing, right? And now I'm doing it, by the way. But nonetheless, he started using the jab and he fought differently against Lemieux and still dominated him, right? Boots Ennis, I looked at that fight, Kelly. Did you ever once feel, he needs to stop getting hit because I think Stanionis should turn the tide?
Nope. And I'll never go to this place with these people, with these dudes, like all these people who need these fighters to be perfect. I'll never go to a place where a fighter has to stay undefeated. If Boots loses a fight, he loses a fight. The thing is, for me, as long as these fighters are doing the right things by the boxing fans. I heard a rumor, I don't know if this is true or not. People can fact check me that Stanionis got paid more than Boots for this fight. And Boots was willing to sacrifice pay in order to get this fight to further along his career. And he's thinking more long-term than short-term. Once again, it's something that's refreshing in the sport. If that's even close to being true, it's something that's refreshing in the sport that you're going to deliver a fight that the fight fans want to see. You're going to further your career. You're going to think more long-term than short-term. And I hope fighters like that are rewarded. And to me, we've been talking about how you arguably only have 2 American fighters in the top 10 pound for pound, 3 at the best, right? And the only ones that have really been living up to, I mean, really, you can say Bam right now, because even Bud hasn't been fighting that much. But if you want to throw Bud in the mix, Bam in the mix, it's fun to have an American fighter right now that seems to get it and is fighting with a fan-friendly style who looks like he could be great. And you hope he hits the ceiling, whatever that ceiling is. It's good to have fighters like that in the mix. It's what we say about Benavidez, right? But you just can't, like, Benavidez, we're more tired of the people around him.
Let me
but we watch Benavidez fight, and he's fun. So you look at these fighters, you're like, please, American fighters, can you understand that we want to see action? And can you understand that we want you to fight more than once per year? Can you please fight 2 to 3 times per year against the top competition? Please.
I agree. Let me get this really quick so I can get out of my face here. Mr. T, D-Style wants to put tariffs on runners and huggers.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that super chat, brother. Why do people associate having a more entertaining style with like somehow that's a dumb way to fight or a less skilled way to fight? Where I actually think it's the opposite. I think there is a skill that comes with knocking out people and stopping them.
Yeah.
That's a skill in itself, right? And I will say that the juggler that's juggling something sharp is more skilled than the guy who's not juggling something sharp.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The guy juggling 7 sharp objects instead of just 2 objects that aren't sharp. You could say, oh, but that's dumb. Why would you do that? Right. Well, it takes more skill to do it, though. Right. Is what I would argue. So, and I feel like that's boxing fans have it reverse. Right. It's like they see someone who's fights in a negative way, avoids engagement, doesn't show any skill fighting on the inside. So what do they do? They hold, because that's a smart thing to do, right? Mm-hmm. And then they get the assistance from the ref to break it up, and the ref keeps allowing it, right? And somehow people associate that with skill and being smart, right? Like I'm trying to understand that logic, because I've never understood it. And I still don't understand why anybody could criticize his performance.
No, I didn't see anything to criticize. Who do you think? Who would you want to see him fight next? Who would you want to see him fight next?
I personally, because the question would be, should he remain at welterweight or should he just move up? I have to be honest, man. Like I would just like him to move up, right? Yeah, I get it. Look, if he wants to stay, he wants to become undisputed, fine. But I would rather him move up to 154 with all those beasts up there. It's a hell of a division. Just think of a fight with Boots versus Virgil is a fight, right?
That's still the fight, right? If Bud, to me, it looks like Bud's Canelo and then gone, right? So you take him out of the mix. To me, the fight to make still is Boots versus Virgil. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that fight? Oh.
Man,
I don't know who I would go. I don't know who I would go with in that one. That's a fight. That's a fight.
That's a hell of a fight, and obviously this performance against Stanionis has, where I put Boots, I mean, I'm gonna just tell you right now. I don't know where he would be right now. It'd be somewhere in the high and the kind of low end of it, but he's in my top 10 pound for pound after his
I can see that.
performance.
I can see that. I don't know if I
Because
have him. I've been thinking about that. I don't know if I have him there yet. He might still be right on the
I mean,
outside. I don't
is
know.
he not a top 10 talent in the sport?
Yeah, maybe so.
I think he is.
Yeah.
But
You
this
talking about Virgil or
performance,
Boots or both of them?
well, you could say both of them, but uh, Virgil has proven himself as well. I think Boots looked really good here. And yeah, both of them.
Yeah.
I think
think
they're both
Virgil has
amazing
fought
talents.
tougher fights as of late, probably. But I don't know. They both just fought tough.
Because the Stanionis win, I'm not even gonna bullshit. It's a great win.
Mhm.
Like it's
How he did
far
it.
surpassed, and it far surpassed what you and I said how he would win.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
like
thought it was. I
I'm
thought it
gonna
was a
I'm like
decision fight.
yeah, I thought it was gonna be a decision. I thought Stanionis is too durable, and I was wrong.
When I saw
Right.
Stanionis start to bleed and then start to give a little bit, and Boots backing him up, I was like, that's a new one. And like I said, it's hard to say because there's a lot that we didn't know about Stanionis because it was the Butayev fight. That's really a lot of what we had to go off of, and just hasn't been that active. But once again, everybody else has given him the accolades, and
Yeah.
that's all we have to go off of. The betting odds had this a decision fight as well. So he exceeded expectations. And to see Stanionis backed up like that, beat down like that, and give like that wasn't just you're knocked out, you're knocked unconscious. They gave. And it's tough to do that to a fighter with that mentality because we've seen Stanionis fight several times, and he
I'll
has a
take it a step
tough.
further, Calix.
That's a tough team, and it's a tough mentality for
After
them
what
to
I
say-
saw,
for
after
them to say, but these stuff for them to say, no, you got it, bro. We're done here. We're done
Alex,
here. We're going to
he
take
would
an
have
ice
beat
bath
Spence.
upstairs at the boardwalk.
He would have
Hall. No,
He would have beat Spence, from what I saw.
Yeah.
Spence would not have beaten Boots Ennis.
Oh no. I think Boots.
And I'll take it a step further.
Look,
I'll take it a step further.
if Mel comes back,
I think Spence. Well, let me make this point. I'll take it a step further. I think Spence would have looked very similar.
Yep.
To Stanionis.
Yeah, I think
a couple more rounds. I think he would have beat down.
I think Boots would do to Spence what Bud did to Spence. That's what I think.
Well, I mean, I could just keep it this way. I think he would have done what he did to Stanionis.
Yeah, he would have ended it. Spence doesn't see 12 rounds with Boots. He doesn't.
You don't see it.
Nope.
Boots right now moves up. I think he beats just about everybody. The only one I'm looking at that I could say that's going to be the dude in his way is Virgil Ortiz.
Yeah,
That's
Virgil, but I still give these other guys a lot of credit. Murtazeliev, Buhachik, they got guys.
I'm just telling you who I would pick. I would pick Boots Ennis to beat them.
Yeah.
That's all I'm telling you.
The Virgil fight's a tough call.
That one, I'm not sure who I would pick.
Yeah, it's a tough call.
That's it. And I know people come out, oh, you guys with Tim Tszyu. I don't think Tim Tszyu beats Boots.
No, I wouldn't either. And then, if Bud stayed at one, man, I would love to see if Bud stayed at 154. But I get it. Once again,
I'm gonna say it, bro. Look.
I don't know. I know what you're gonna say. I don't know.
Look, I don't know if Bud beats Boots, bro. And Bud did have a different energy when it came to Boots. Let's just keep it 100. Like he had a different energy when it came to Boots, bro. He fought Mean Machine. Well, I'm not going to say I don't know. You can say I don't know if you want. He had a different energy when it came to him. And so did Spence, right? Spence was called, oh, you're not ready. You're a little pup. You need a couple more fights. Like there's no doubt that PBC, now granted it had nothing to do with Bud, but PBC definitely was in no rush to put Boots in the ring with Spence. No. And I think we know why now, right? Because he was the bastard child of PBC because he was just with Showtime. He wasn't a PBC guy. Boots was never the Al Heyman guy.
Yeah.
Right. So like, and Spence was, and I think that there's a reason, that their fight didn't happen. But I'm going to tell you right now, Butts would have beaten Boots 2-3 years ago for sure. Right now, after what I saw in the Madrigal fight, I don't know if Bud beats Boots, bro.
Yeah, well,
I don't know if he does.
the thing is, we'll never find out. So I don't even want to have the conversation because, like I said, for Bud, it's Canelo, and he's never coming back down. It's
No,
Canelo.
we're gonna make Calix have the who wins that if they were to fight. Who would win? Who would you favor to win? And we don't know who would win, but who would you pick? Who would you pick?
Bud. I'd pick Bud. A close fight.
And then this is the thing,
like this is the thing that's sort of to me, one of the frustrating things about the sport right now still is we're not having the old lion versus young lion battles that we kind of had back in the day to like usher the old lion off into the pasture, right? It's like, yeah, you've been the guy, but guess what? It's time for us to it's time for you have no choice. It's time for us to have this battle, right? And you're at the weight class. I'm at the weight class. I've been beating the other guys in the rankings. If you're gonna stick around and you want to save face, if you want your reputation, you got to fight this fight. It's just not that way anymore. Now it's you can kind of like now you can kind of like I don't want to call it cherry picking, but you can kind of like mask it as I'm moving up to bigger and better things, right? But a lot of times when you move up for another belt or something like that, you're avoiding something within your own.
So let's. I just want to I'm just gonna say it. Bud and Spence held that division welterweight hostage. Okay. And because of those two, we didn't get to see Virgil and Boots shine earlier than we should have seen them shine, right? And I'm gonna tell you right now, 2-3 years ago, people were just saying things. They would beat those guys anyway. They're too young. They're not ready.
Yeah, but I don't know these style. Like I don't want to give these guys because it's not. It wasn't just Bud and Spence. And look, we did this thing. No, look, listen to me. We did this thing in boxing, right? We made this mistake twice where for 5-6 years, we had the two best welterweights on the planet were also the two top pound for pound fighters on the planet. They didn't fight. And then we did it again. We didn't learn that lesson. We didn't see all the people leave and learn that lesson and say, hey, we got the two top welterweights in the world, Bud and Errol, and they happen to be top 5, top 6, top 7 pound. We should fight them, right? But instead we waited. But what I'm saying, D-Style, is you had fighters underneath that. You had 8 undefeated fighters in the top 10 at welterweight. I talked about this for a couple of years. So we can't give these fighters the excuse that, hey, these two guys at the top aren't fighting each other. So you guys got to play.
No. But here's the problem. No. Here's where we're going to disagree because
do that, D-Style.
No. You don't need to do anything.
I'm not going to give them that
I'm not doing any excusing. I'm not excusing anybody. I'm just going to go by facts. They held all the belts, all of them, right? So like Spence is fighting every 15 months. Bud was fighting maybe once a year, right? And they fought all the other dudes. They fought Mean Machine, the Danny Garcias, and they fought those guys. My point is that Virgil and Boots, right? Virgil was numero uno in 3 of the sanctioning bodies, and then they removed them on one to put fucking Keith Thurman, right? Who wasn't even fighting. So all I'm saying is that both these guys, Virgil and Boots, should have been shining way before that. Shout out to Chico.
No.
Chuck beats Boots easier than he did Virgil. You wouldn't respond to that.
Here comes the Boots hater. Here comes the Boots hater. I knew it. I knew Drew would do it.
So what are you? I don't think.
Look, here's my rebuttal to that because I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose the topic.
Go ahead.
Which route did Boots take? He probably took an easier route at the time, right? Boots was staying with a team who was more than happy to put him fighting on an undercard of a pay-per-view, deep on an undercard on the West Coast when he should be fighting in Pennsylvania. So he made business moves, right, that held his career back, and he kept with these guys for years. Number one. Number two, these guys could have pushed the issue more. It's just not good enough for me to say, oh, the sanctioning bodies are corrupt. these promoters are corrupt. 1 and 2 won't fight each other. So 3 through 10 all have to play it safe. No, look, belt or no belt, one of you guys has to fight the other guy. Come on. All you guys are in the same room and you're somehow avoiding each other. If you want to get to the top dog, politic a little better, sign with competent people, but on top of that, you got to push the issue and somehow find a top 10 guy to fight. You got to do it, and a lot of these guys were just avoiding each other from 3 to 10 for years.
Bud and Spence could play this dance that they were doing for 5 years, right? And hold the whole damn division hostage because they're holding all the belts, right?
Yeah.
Well, then what? Then I think one of them should have been stripped for it. At least
I agree. Yeah, we're in agreement there.
Maria showed Suleiman. He was in no rush to make Spence immediately, make a decision.
Yep.
Then that's all I'm saying. But
we're in total agreement on that.
Regardless of who you blame, there's no doubt, that the Bud Spence feud dimmed the lights on those two fighters for a while.
It played a part, for sure.
Like they played a part. I'm going to place all the blame on them because they're the elders. That's the way it works.
You don't place all the blame on them. You place blame on their teams. Virgil and Bud. You place blame on Boots. You place blame on Virgil for not running the best camps for a while and ending up ill several times and not making weight, stuff like that, right? There's blame to go around for both of those fighters. Boots didn't seem too aggressive when it came to Bud for a couple of years, to be honest with you.
What we do in life echoes in eternity.
Yeah.
All right. What those two did is echoing now, and we're seeing like I can't believe how they were dimming the lights on other fighters that could have already been doing great things at welterweight years ago, but they just held up the division. Like it is what it is. I mean, that's just my opinion.
No, they held up the division for sure. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about it. But I'm just not gonna go to this place because there is recency bias here too. I love the performance. I'm high on Boots. And I'm a fan. I'm all in.
I mean, there is recency bias.
No.
There is but it is a what have you done for me lately sport, especially when half of the dudes are fighting once a year.
It is, and especially when a guy fights 3 times in 9 months. What I'm not gonna do though is say all of a sudden he beats everybody. I think there are guys at 154 that could still present some issues, and then Bud's Bud still. I get it. He barely fights. He's dropping on my pound for pound list too. He didn't look great in his last fight, and he's waiting around for the Canelo fight. I'm down on him for all that. But what I'm saying is Bud's still Bud. And if you're asking me, I'm still picking Bud in that Mythical fight.
But why, sir? You know what I mean? But I got you. All right. Shout out to Chico. It says, y'all want Boots to move to 154 next, but when it comes to a midget from San Antonio, all of a sudden, weight class business to Doug Junto or Inoue.
Man, that nigga was that Japanese guy was insane.
Just shout out to
Chico. He'll never let it go. All I'm saying is there are weight classes where certain unification fights make sense. If it was up to me, I'd throw all these sanctioning bodies in the trash. I'd throw all the belts in the trash. And we would just get to a unified ranking system and guys fighting each other. And if it was up to me, Drew, Bam would fight Junto. Junto would fight Inoue, and let's get on with it. But what I'm saying is, realistically, right now, the options would be 115. That's what it looks like to me. I don't know. I'm not gonna blame this person, that person. That's all I'm saying. And nobody who's the meaningful guy.
Sometimes we need somebody to blame
right now. Who's the meaningful guy? We need somebody
to blame sometimes. What I'm telling you, sometimes we got to blame somebody.
Right. So who's the guy with the belt? Who's the guy with the belt at 147 that's meaningful? So to me, if you're Boots, all you can do is continue to apply pressure, continue to try to build your brand to get a Ryan Garcia. If you're going to stay at 147, try to get a Ryan Garcia or Teofimo Lopez, somebody like that to hop in the ring with.
The problem with the argument you just made that Chico could counter with, well, who's meaningful at bantamweight class at the moment?
Yeah, but who's meaningful? Like, who's the guy at 118? It's Junto, right?
Yes.
I'm with that. Go do it. I'm with Drew on that. Like, go fight the fight. That's fine. But if the fight's not going to happen, you got to stay busy and stay at 115. What's the other option? I don't know. What's the other option? You can move up to 118, right? And you can chase the Junto fight.
Also, just to say this to Chico, nobody is saying here anyway that Boots is ducking anybody at 154. Right. So I just want to make sure, like, nobody's saying, oh, he's ducking Virgil. Like, nobody's saying that, right? So that's a very important point that we need to make, right? I just tell you what I would prefer. I would prefer for him to move up to 154 if that's what.
This is what.
If he stays at 147,
on the record, just so I'm on the record, D-Style. Here's what, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. What I would prefer down there is Bam move up to 118 and fight Junto, and the winner of that fight gets to move up to 122 and face Inoue. That's what I like to see. Inoue is the king. Inoue is the big name.
I like it.
So those two guys fight each other at 118, and then the winner gets Inoue. That's what I'd like to see.
Because the way it feels like it kind of feels like every time Bam is ready to move up, for whatever reason, Junto's ready to move up too. Right? that's how it feels. Like, it's kind of like the sheriff shows up, and all of a sudden, like, Junto's nowhere to be found.
Once again,
town.
Look, Drew's smart. Once again, those tactics, man, it's working because he gets me to take a position in which I'm being anti one of the fighters that I like. Those are my three favorite fighters, probably Inoue, Junto, and Bam. So this kills me, right? But this guy, he's a genius with his tactics, with his divisive tactics, and he gets me to take an anti one.
Super divisive, bro.
He's divisive. He's a divisive.
Very divisive, and it's very he wants us to, like, what are we supposed to do? Attack the Japanese people? Like we're not gonna do that.
That's what he
wants. I mean,
you know how Suleiman hates Russian fighters? That's
man. So Drew hates, like,
I can't say that.
So Drew hates Mexican fighters that are born in America under 5'5". Like, that's how, like, that's kind of how Suleiman feels about Russians. That's how Drew feels about under 5'5" Hispanic.
He doesn't like midget Mexican fighters. Apparently, that's what he doesn't like.
I just don't get it. Especially if they're born in Texas. Apparently, you know. But man, why not? They seem to be good fighters. I mean, I don't know. That's my opinion. But
I'm with you.
But I want to pull up this. Well, first, do you have any final thoughts on Boots thing before we move on?
No, I've conveyed it already. I'm a fan. And I don't even care if I don't even really care if the ceiling isn't reached, as long as the journey is fun. That's what I've said about all these fighters. Because who one of my favorite fighters was Cotto, and Cotto failed many times. If you consider losing, failing, right? But you learn from your failures. It was the journey that was interesting. It's this guy, he's a little flawed, but he's still great. And the journey is going to be fun. He's gonna fall, but he's gonna climb back up. And that's what I miss in boxing is developing a relationship as a boxing fan with some of your favorite fighters, and going on a journey with them throughout their career, and knowing that you're gonna have that feeling in your gut as they're doing the ring walk, like, this is a dangerous fight. This is a day I could see my guy lose this fight.
You don't think, though? Like, I just think, like, a lot of boxing fans, that's the way I read it, right? It's almost like it's like a badge of honor for them to be the guy that needs to point out the bad news, right? Yeah. Oh, I'm going to be the guy saying, let's tell you guys what you don't want to hear. He gets hit too much, all right? So we need to address that. Like, well, what are you, like, part of his team? Like, what are you doing? Are you, like, his coach? Like, what? I just think there's too many fans that I just feel like they want to be the guy that kind of, like, Well, look at me. I know how to analyze a sport. He gets hit too much, and we need to make sure that gets addressed because, or for whatever reason. And I don't know. I don't get it. Shout out to Chico. I'm an agent of chaos. I loved Bam. Past tense, okay? Picked him to KO Rat King, but I'm team Rudy Hernandez and Junto. Banzai! There you go.
I'm a hard-working man.
I don't have any like Japanese music, so maybe we gotta get some sort of.
We need to get that. We need to get that.
That's right. He's an agent of chaos.
You, there. What is your profession?
I'm a potter.
So. And you?
Like if he asked Drew, he'd be like, "I'm an agent of chaos." Like what?
I'm a big fan of Japanese music too. You never known that about me, but I am.
Okay.
But that's
you want to sing a song for? You want to sing a Japanese song for us?
No, I don't want to.
To really show, like you know what I mean, your cultural expansion.
No,
you know what I mean?
I don't want to. Don't want to do it.
Shout out to Chico. Boots would have an easier time beating the top 10 at 160 than he would at 154. He don't go undefeated at 154. I do agree with, like, just in general, that he would have an easier time with the fighters at 100 and
anybody.
Like if he showed up at 160 pounds, it'd be like this.
Man, that nigga was that Japanese guy was in shape.
160 is so terrible. Good Lord. Anybody would have my grandma would have an easy time at 160. Like that's such a terrible division right now. But
they got Adames and Shiraz and that other dude that is fighting in obscure cards now.
Just listen to that. Even Drew's
Adam makes a problem though. I don't know if it'll be an Adam. Adam might be too big.
Look, Drew's a highly educated, high IQ boxing fan, but even he's got a little of that brainwashing in him. You caught that last sentence there. He don't go undefeated at 154. That's the thing. Like, so what? So what? If you fight the fights, I'm fine with it. If you go 4-1, fighting a top 10 competition at 154, to me, you could still be considered a great fighter, right? I'm fine with it.
By the way, Zanabek, not Adamek, my bad. But yeah, Zanabek. See, I even forget his dude's name. But he's at middleweight.
No, I know. Janabek. I feel like, but with Janabek, I feel like nothing's ever gonna happen. I don't know, and a lot of it's not his doing, but I just feel like nothing's ever gonna happen with that guy. Is anything ever gonna happen? Like I've been sitting here waiting for like 3-4 years. Is something gonna happen?
Well, something eventually happens. I mean, like
what?
We should be a little used to it.
I'm waiting.
You know,
I'm waiting.
I mean,
I feel like I'm watching that show that was supposed to be good, and everybody's telling me, "Oh, this show is going to be good," and then it's just never really.
So you weren't impressed when he beat Makaholovic back in October? Andrei Makaholiev or whatever his name is.
I don't know. These middleweights. Post Golovkin, Canelo, these middleweights, I don't know. Yeah, they're all mid.
Look, you can say what you want. I mean, I still think, like opposite side, Zanabek is a problem because you still got to beat him in the ring, regardless of how relevant he might feel. Those punches are not going to feel relevant if they start landing on boots.
You got to hate on my boy Cotto now. Oh man. Collateral damage everywhere.
No, look, nothing but respect to Cotto. I just don't like how he went out. Like, really, you're gonna lose to that dude on your way out?
Saddam Ali.
You're gonna lose to Saddam Ali after. I mean, he lost to Canelo, but at least it was a good performance. Are you gonna turn around and lose to Saddam Ali? Like what?
Some guys stick around too long. That's all it is. Some guys stick around.
That's crazy. Callie, let's go over this right now. You know what's funny is that there's people that argue it against this. It's insane, but we're gonna touch on it a little bit. So this is Jamal Charlo and Bivol. So Jamal Charlo.
Did you really have to was slapped by Caleb?
so we're gonna go over all of it. He did not beat a WBC champion. Right, he was an email champion. right? So it's not like he beat somebody and then like or whatever. Like he kind of just he received the belt after Canelo moved up or whatever, if you remember, right? Bivol, he beat champion Artur Beterbiev for the WBC belt. Jamal was slapped by Caleb Plant. Bivol's 1-1 against Beterbiev.
What is slapped by Caleb Plant?
Well, you tell. What am I supposed to put? What other fights did he have?
That was
When
the
he was
sad.
champion?
I gotta be honest with you. That was the saddest thing is seeing them lose the King of the Tunnel title. Like the Charlos, that was the thing. That was their thing. Like you just show up belligerently drunk to other people's fights consistently, and just pull up on people constantly, and you were the King of the Tunnel.
But
And
by
to
the way,
see
he
Caleb
slapped
Plant-
him.
Yeah,
Well,
to
he
see
slapped
Caleb
him,
Plant-
and then and then he like scolded him after he slapped him. Like, yeah, you better
Yeah.
watch your mouth, boy. Like, whoa. Like,
He came back. And then on top of that, they have like domestic disputes in the parking lot the same day. It's like, what is happening? It was
so you're asking me why did I put this? Because that's like the closest thing to a fight he had during his reign. That's why. What am I supposed to put? You know what I mean? So he had baby mama drama, which is the whole. That's how he was depressed. Remember, we got to be understanding. Might as well say.
yeah.
Well, Bivol had baby mama drama too,
Yeah, he did.
right?
Yeah, he did.
I mean, the mama was like the baby mama, like was like doing live streams, like talking shit to the guy after he lost. You know what I mean?
She's a wild one.
Mauricio advocated for Jamal Charlo. He advocated for him. All right. Mauricio needed convincing to even allow Bivol to fight for the WBC belt for Undisputed. Remember, like, oh no, we were sanctioning the Russians. The Russians attack Ukraine. We will sanction Bivol. He must explain himself as to why his government attacked Ukraine. Like what? Like what? That shit was insane, bro. One dude didn't fight for over 1,000 days. He remained champion, no pressure. Champion indefinitely, Mauricio said. Day after winning the belt, Mauricio ordered the fight. He said he gave him 6 weeks. Immediate, right after defeating the dude, and it was the IBF's turn, by the way. The IBF's turn to call for some type of to be the ones to sanction a fight, but Mauricio just jumped in. He didn't care, right?
Mm-hmm.
One guy told Mauricio to take his fucking belt. He doesn't care about the belt in a drunken rant. Make an exception so he can complete a trilogy with Beterbiev. That's all he wanted. One guy, Mauricio publicly called him my champion. You take all the time you need, my champion. Right? And scolded those that criticized him for not defending for 3 years. I mean, people would just ask Mauricio, hey, what are we going to do about this guy? You need to understand that the WBC stands by its champion in good times and bad times, right? Well, apparently he didn't stand by Bivol, so never called my champion ever. Did they ever call him my champion? I don't recall. Mauricio publicly scolded him for going the route of the trilogy, right? And finally, Mauricio convinced interim champion Adamas to also advocate for Jamal, right? To be an understanding cook for his champion, an active champion, right? But Mauricio tried to smear Bivol and enhance the narrative against him, saying he's only going to make 2.1 million. He was offered 8 million to fight Benavides, but he went the route of less money. I like how he says money. So I had dudes come out. They were like, oh, you're capping for Turkey. I was told capping for Turkey. I'm like, what? What is that? Like, okay, but anyway, what do you think of the double standard? And then some said, well, using Jamal as an example. Why don't you use Canelo as an example? Right? First of all, we did call out Mauricio on his hypocrisy of never ordering the Canelo fight with Benavides, but immediately doing it, when Bivol won the belt. Right? We did call that out. There's actually receipts we have. We did videos about it. However, I think this is a better polar opposite example than a very active Canelo who was doing a lot more things other than just getting slapped by Killer Plant, okay, in the process. So that's just something I want to say, okay? But
He doesn't like Russian fighters, bro. And then you and I were all over that when it happened. It's like, who the hell is this guy? Who the hell is this body to say Russian fighters can no longer fight for our titles? What the hell is this? What is this?
Mhm.
And then so that holds him up from fighting for Undisputed, right? And we
Right.
called that out at the time. It's like Bivol beats Canelo, and then Bivol immediately. Generally, guys would say, I beat Canelo, and this is a huge win. It's a career-defining win. He was sort of dismissive of that, but said, I want to be undisputed at 175. But then we see Bob Arum roll out a mandatory. And then when the war breaks out, say, we just can't do this. We don't like what Russia is doing. Who the hell are you? You're a boxing promoter. What the hell do you have to? What is this? What is this? And
A
we knew what it was.
president.
It was
Yeah.
you don't want the fight right now. You just don't want the fight. So finally, the Saudis give us the fight, and we get there, and the guy wins the career-defining victory. Although you can consider the Canelo win the career-defining victory, but for him personally, that was the one he wanted. That was the one he wanted. And then a couple months later, he's no longer your champion. What is that? What is that? And this is what people are advocating for to stick around, right? Is we need more of this. We need more politics. No, man, we need the guy to beat the guy. We need something that's sustainable. We need an honorable system in which this is the fight we wanted, undisputed. And then it was a close fight, and the guy who won the close fight honored the rematch. And then you took it from him in the second fight, and he wants the third fight. So now you're honoring his rematch. And we're going to go to a third fight. And finally, we're going to have a rivalry, a trilogy. This is what we've been missing in the sport is rivalries, trilogies that are actually in demand, not rematches that are rematch claused that were
I
called
mean,
before the
I
fight
could
even
think
happened.
of multiple examples of when Mauricio was in a very similar circumstance. It's not just Jamal.
Mhm.
Jamal had an interim champion, Adamas, right? And somehow he convinced that dude to advocate for an inactive champion, right? But when it came to Bivol, everything's in a rush. What about when Dillian White was, number one in the WBC for years, and he wouldn't get a shot against Wilder, and even after Wilder got beat by Fury, there's still there was still very difficult to even get that fight, right? So
Mhm.
like I'm trying to understand,
It's
right?
this is another narrative I see out there that needs to be destroyed. It's Benavidez fights, what is it, twice at
Mhm.
175, right? And
Yes.
it's good competition. I wouldn't call it great. So okay, it's a good start. It's a good start. He's 2-0. But now, what do you guys keep, you keep moving the goalposts when it comes to Benavidez. What's this guy got to do to get a shot? What's he got to do to get a shot? All I'm saying is if you have 1 and 2 in the division and they've had 2 great fights, 2 close fights that could have went either way, and they're honoring the trilogy, they're honoring their contractual obligation on top of that, and we're getting a real rivalry here, and we're getting everything that's right about the sport, and they want to get to the trilogy right away. This is another thing that people are missing is usually when we have these trilogies, look at Chocolatito versus Gallo Estrada. How long did that take, right? Sometimes when we get these trilogies, we got the third fight with Canelo versus Golovkin years later. We're getting a trilogy happen, boom, 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 right? And to me, that's good. That's right. Get to it. 1 versus 2. These guys are still 1 versus 2, and Benavidez is 3. So why wouldn't you want 1 versus 2 to fight each other? They're honoring rematches with each other, and this is a fight in demand. And why wouldn't you want your championship represented by one of those fighters? Why would you willingly say, and I know the answers to these questions. I'm just saying from a competitive standpoint, how does this make sense? If people are acting like the sanctioning bodies are really doing the business of boxing fans in the sport, right? And they're nonprofits. Why wouldn't you want your belt, your championship represented by 1 versus 2 in a real trilogy, a real rivalry? Why wouldn't you want that? Why would you
Well, we
willingly
know the
pull your
answer,
sanctioning? But
but
I know the answers to these questions, but I'm just saying it so people realize how
right.
convoluted and corrupt this is I'm going to take my championship. I'm going to take my belt away from number one in the division and give it to this guy over here. And on top of that, I'm going to vilify the guy who is number one in the sanctioning body, who I stopped from fighting for my belt for Undisputed. Before that, leading up to that fight, I was forced into putting my belt on the line for this guy to fight.
Right.
This is what we're looking at with the WBC, and I cannot believe you have people out there advocating for this move here. That give it to Benavidez, give it to Benavidez.
So look, like what's like he hears the part that is very telling, right? He never ordered Canelo to fight Benavidez. He kept giving deadlines ahead of time. Oh yeah, next March. We'll do it in next March. And then like March will come, nothing. Right. And I get that both fan bases got very involved and blamed each other. And and by the way, I'm not saying that the Benavidez side, especially with Samson, don't hold a lot of like what I want to make sure you guys like the point I want you guys to understand is that regardless of how you feel, how Samson or Benavidez's team, PBC handled the situation with Canelo, and regardless of how you feel Canelo handled it or not handled it, right? Set them aside. I'm talking specifically about Mauricio Suleiman, right? Mauricio Suleiman, sure as hell, didn't apply any pressure on Canelo to do it.
No.
Not like this. Nowhere near this type of pressure. Like he placed a deadline strategically, immediately, colluded, okay, with the Benavidez team, knowing full well that they already had an agreement to do the trilogy. He knew this.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing full well, Turkey already said if Bivol wins, we will do the trilogy. Knowing full well. Notice he didn't order it before the fight happened. He didn't say, hey, regardless of the winner, it's ordered. He didn't say, he waited till Bivol won and then he ordered it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think I saw Eddie Hearn say, like, it's just bizarre, like the quickness of how he wanted to do this, right? Bizarre. And everything we're pointing out, guys, everything is to point out his hypocrisies.
And to point out once again, that there are another specific example that there are no checks and balances in boxing, and you have a bunch of people who have teamed up, grouped up and all it is corruption expanded. It's more people in the picture and just more corruption within that picture, and corruption just expands.
They have rules,
examples of that, but
force the rules when they want to. That's it.
But specific, like, you have a bunch of guys performing duties that they're not being paid to do. That's not their job title. I talked about this for years with Steven Espinoza. You're a network exec, bro. You're not the PBC spokesperson. Why are you Al Heyman's mouthpiece? Why are you Al Heyman's press secretary? I want to hear Al Heyman speak. That's what I want to hear. I want to know who is the promoter here. Tom Brown, the guy, I don't even know what the guy's voice sounds like. So when it comes to Mauricio Suleiman, why are you behaving like a manager? Why are you behaving like David Benavidez's manager? Bro, you're a sanctioning body president. Your job is not to say this guy turned down $8 million. He was just your champion. And you're disparaging him now. He turned down $8 million to fight for less money. That's not your job title. It's not your business.
It's actually the opposite, and I'll explain in a little bit. Go ahead.
Who are you to say this guy needs to do this versus this? This guy turned down $8 million over here, and now he's going to fight over there, and that's not good for his career. You're not his manager. You're not his promoter. Mm-hmm. You're not David Benavidez's promoter, but you're acting like it. What is this? And it's corruption expanded is what it is.
Here's the thing, Alex. So the whole point, like the only reason these motherfuckers exist, right, is so they could look out for the little guy, right? The guy that earns his shot. And regardless of his status, if he has a big promoter, regardless of his drawing power or not. You as a sanctioned organization tell the champion, hey, we're mandating you to fight him because he's one of the proper, he's worked his way up the rankings. This is theoretically how it should work. It's not really how it works, but theoretically, he worked his way up the rankings. He wants some eliminators. He won a final eliminator to become the mandatory. So now you are mandated to fight him. And if you don't, we will strip you. Right. And that's why I understand why some people are coming out and say, oh, I support this. Yeah. You got to strip him. He doesn't want to fight him. But they're leaving a lot of context out. Right. Yep. And that's theoretically what they're supposed to do. And this is supposed to be the whole point of it is. So if you have a guy that isn't a big draw, right, that you mandate him, even if it's the opposite, even if this guy, you're only going to make $2 million, but he's your mandatory. Yeah, you're going to make $8 million fighting that guy, but this guy earned a shot. This is our rules. You need to defend a belt. If you don't want to defend the belt, you could go do that $8 million fight, but you're going to have to vacate the belt. And he's in, right? Mauricio's, think about it. He's doing the opposite.
Yeah.
Mauricio's saying, hey, my mandatory is bringing more money. So you're supposed to fight him, not that guy over there, because you're going to make less money fighting him. Fight my mandatory is more money, is the argument he's making. Mm-hmm. The problem with his argument, and the reason it's a key point to say he's not a promoter, he's not a manager, right? You guys need to understand why we're pointing that out. It's not just a random point. It's not just a fact that happens to be true. It's relevant, and it's supposed to be something you need to understand on what the role of what a president of a sanctioning body is supposed to do, right?
Nuance.
They're not supposed to like pick the one that makes the most money. He makes more money. Remember when he was like lecturing in the Ring magazine? They're not in for the sport. They're here to make money. They're not here for the integrity of the sport. They want to make money, right? Like, so like, if my message to Mauricio would be, look, if you have a legitimate argument as to why you're going to strip Bivol for the belt, it should have nothing to do with money. It should be due to merit, right? That's what it's supposed to be. But we know you go to the direction of money, because when it came to Canelo, all right, those grapefruits of balls, okay, like turned into like little nut sacks all of a sudden, right? They shrunk all of a sudden. All of a sudden, you don't got grapefruits, right? All of a sudden, you have little peanuts hanging under there, right? Why? Because who brought the money in that situation? Canelo did it.
As always.
You see, Mauricio is almost admitting, saying without saying, I'm going to go with the guy that offers the most money.
Yep.
Right? That's where I'm going. Canelo situation, I didn't force him, and I didn't enforce it. I didn't, because Canelo brings the money. In this situation, whether true or not, his argument is based on Benavidez brings more money, so you should have taken this fight, is what he's basing it on, right? How true is it? Look, I'm guessing he only got a certain amount because they probably put a cap on him for the trilogy. That's what I'm guessing, right? Mm-hmm. But again, he's stepping on the wrong toes here, right? That's how I see it.
Yep, I'm with you.
Anyway, we've touched on everything, Calix, pretty much. We should be able to, we could find some time during the week and talk about anything upcoming. We'll talk about it, but any final thoughts?
No, and I'm like I said, my schedule is starting to open up. I'll be very free this week. We'll talk more boxing this week than in previous weeks. So thanks for bearing with us on that. But Boots is that guy. It looks to me, he's looking more and more like that pound for pound guy, top 10 guy that we've been waiting to walk through that door. And all that was stopping it really was activity and the opportunities, right? And a lack of good management, lack of good promotion, lack of good productive and good-natured people around him that are looking out for the long-term health of his career. And now the talent is showing. It's showing. And we saw it last night. Last night was good for boxing. It was good for American boxing. It really was. It was a fight happening where it belongs. It was a packed house at AC, a great venue. It was a very marketable and fun action fighter, offensive-minded fighter, Philly fighter, fighting like a Philly fighter, and on top of that, looking great against good competition. That's what we saw last night, and that's all I thought after the fight. Never in my mind did I think he's flawed. Never in my mind did I think what I was thinking was, what if Bud was still around at 154? What would happen if Boots versus Virgil happened next? What would happen if, these guys that are moving up from 140 to 147 and Teofimo's to Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, what if these fights happen? What if they developed, right? He looks good. He looks legit. He looks like the real deal. And I hope 100%. They continue to keep him busy. Keep him busy.
And shout out to the old chat, by the way, from Skywalker Boxing Media, Nando Llamas, Remy, Jesus M, JC, Haplotype, all you guys, Mr. T. Thanks for tuning in once again. If you tuned in late, you can always go back, listen to the rest on the archive. Who's down with HCP? Everybody. And we'll see you guys soon. This is D-Style Boxing. Keep it boxing. We're out of here. Peace.
God bless.
You're now listening to Hispanics Causing Panic, baby. Let's do this.
Right now, Hispanics are causing black. But right now, Hispanics are causing black. Yeah, Hispanics are causing panic.